All right, what's up, you guys? This is Devin from CenturyFX Studios, and we're back with another video. Today, we're going to be doing photography from A to Z again with the letter C. And the word we're going to be talking about today, or the term, or the piece of technology, is the C Fast card. Now, the reason I'm going with C again is because we just finished talking about the CF card. Now, the CF card and the C Fast cards are like brothers. One is just older technology, one is the newer technology meant for the higher speed, higher performing cameras. Now, like I said before, for the information that is not said in this video, go back to the CF card video and you can find out a lot more information about the C Fast card, because you have to understand where it came from to understand where it's going, because pretty much the CF card is the predecessor of the C Fast card. The C Fast card has been around for about 11 years now, going on strong, and a lot of people don't even know that because the technology tends to trickle down. You know, for those of you who didn't have a 1DX or the biggest camera on the block, you probably didn't even know about the CF card. Or if you didn't have a big cinema camera like an Arri Alexa or something like that, or something huge like Canon C700 or something like that, if you didn't have that kind of camera, then you probably don't know anything about the C Fast card, or you probably just heard about it and thought you would get to it later. All right, now we're getting deeper into the CF card. The difference between the CF card and the C Fast card is the CF card had a parallel ATA interface type of technology. This technology was the technology inside of the internals of the CF card, of course, but the internals itself mimicked the old computers that we used to have back in the Stone Ages, back when, you know, computers were, first getting internet and stuff like that. We don't really need that anymore. We need something more, more efficient, faster, that can help us transfer all these 4K, 8K, 6K, downscaled 6K to 4K, all these different files, 120 frames per second, 200 frames per second, 20 frames per second of 400 megabyte JPEGs and RAW files and uncompressed RAW and this RAW and that. All of these heavy files need to be trucked into your camera at a certain rate, and the C Fast card is a perfect card to use. Now the question is, if we already had a CF card, which is almost the exact same size as the C Fast card, why would we then even change to the CF Fast card? A lot of people are thinking that. A lot of people are thinking the form factor is still the same, the size, everything pretty much is the same, so why change it? Well, actually, the internals are very different. Like I said before, parallel ATA is that old school technology that we used to have in the old computers. The internals were, the connections that connected to every little thing on the inside. The fastest connections that we had were parallel ATA back in the day. We have the SSD type of technology now, where we can use serial ATA to then weave all of our connections in a faster, less bottleneck type of environment. So when you take a picture that's 50, 100 megapixels, because you know it's coming, and then you truck it into your camera at 5 frames, 6 frames, even 10 frames a second, it's probably coming with that. You have to have an interface or a card interface that's like, okay, I'm one with the camera. I can receive this information as fast as I'm getting it, or at a reasonable rate. That's what the serial ATA is doing for the C Fast card that is not even on the CF card that we used to have. Now, going back to the change, we're changing, in my opinion, for 3 main reasons: efficiency, size, and profit. Now, as technology gets newer, what people want is efficiency, size, and profit. The companies want the profit, but we want the efficiency and the size part as far as the consumers are concerned. Now, we don't want to be walking around with a camera that looks huge, but at the same time, we want a sizable camera that will look good to our clients. So if you're out at a wedding and we're walking around with a cell phone or a Lumix, LX100 or a Sony RX, 5, whatever the RX series is. It's just small, compact cameras. If we're walking around with those, then we're gonna look like we don't know what we're doing. And if anybody can just get our camera, anybody's gonna think they can just do the same comparable work. A friend of mine came to me one day and he said, "Hey, Devin, man, I did some great work for my client and he loved my work, but he only gave me 4 stars on my rating because he said that my camera was small, and therefore he thought I was a beginner or wasn't worthy of that 5th star." I was always, trying to challenge myself to get that better star, but he just told me I had a small camera. Therefore, he didn't think my work was as good as it could have been, or something like that. Some passive aggressive type of response that his client gave him, and he couldn't believe that. So My thing is, what you see is what you believe as a client. So if you see somebody with a decent sized camera, you're gonna think that the work is going to be, perceived a higher perceived value. If you see a 1DX on the scene with a 85 millimeter 1.2, you're gonna perceive that value to be a lot better than something your cell phone can create. But if you see, it's just common logic. If you see somebody with a cell phone, you're gonna think that cell phone can create something that I can just do myself. If I'm at a wedding and I see a photographer with a cell phone, I'm not gonna feel like that $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to $7,000 that I paid for that photographer to show up is gonna be worth the money that I paid because he's just using a cell phone. It's just common knowledge. It's just common sense. If you come to a job ill prepared, or it looks like you're ill prepared, then people are not gonna give you, the time of day, or they're not going to think you're professional. A lot of people who have DSLRs are now either wanting to get business or are professionals getting business and trying to retain clients. So this mentality of size matters, and in the photography world, what you see is what you get kind of thing, it works out. It works directly towards what you're getting. As far as clients are concerned, it's a direct correlation to what you're getting, especially what these bridal magazines and all of these high-end magazines are telling people who are looking for photographers and looking for the best photographers. Sometimes you can get a good word of mouth game going and you can get better clients, but typically if you have a DSLR, the people who are watching this video who are trying to get CFast cards or who need to upgrade to CF cards and they don't, or CFast cards and they don't know it, they're going to probably need to understand this information, that efficiency, size, and profit matter most to the people who are making and receiving the CFast cards. Now you got to understand that if you're getting a CFast card, you're probably well entrenched with lenses and a camera, or you already have a plan on what you're going to do. A high schooler messaged me last week on Instagram, and she was like, "Oh, well, I just got this 5D Mark IV right out of high school, and I'm going to college to major in photography." And in my opinion, I was like, "Oh, that's amazing that you're able to get the 5D Mark IV right out of high school, going to college with almost everything you need, except you have a Canon camera that was stifled." And I don't know if she quite understands this, but typically when you're getting a 5D Mark IV, you need to understand what you're getting. A camera with, certain things on it that were stifled, like the 4K, and even though you have dual card slots, you have this huge 4K file that's hard to manage. And even if you get, the highest, UHS-II SD card, and I believe it has a CFast card reader on it, if you get the fastest ones, you still need a high capacity card, because that high capacity card is going to be able to help manage those humongous 4K files, which I'm shooting on the Panasonic G7 right now, and the 4K files are extremely manageable. And then you got to make sure you have the computer that can manage it. So all that research goes into you knowing exactly where the industry is going, and CFast cards kind of bait and coast where the new cameras are coming from. Because think about it. When you go to efficiency, the CFast card is one of the most efficient, if not the most efficient cards, and the most ubiquitous cards on the market right now. And what I mean by that is that, okay, they can do everything that you're trying to do, 6K, 4K, anything you're trying to do that's mainstream right now, you can get it done on a CFast card. And then on top of that, more brands make CFast cards than any other brands, for XQD. XQD hasn't been out that long, and a lot of people aren't making XQD cards. The two main manufacturers that I see supporting, or three main manufacturers and brands, is Lexar, Nikon, and Sony. Lexar, Nikon, and Sony have XQD cards on lock. But if you're like anybody else, and the most popular manufacturer for cameras, Canon, then you probably have a Canon, or you're selling somebody a Canon, or you're using a CFast card for that upgraded Canon. So a lot of people understand that, hey, I got a Canon C100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 700, or I have a Blackmagic Cinema camera, or I have a 1DX Mark II, I have a 5D Mark IV. All of these cameras run off of CFast cards, and they don't run off of XQD cards. So you really have to be entrenched in the Sony system. You really have to be entrenched in the Nikon system to actually even want this card in the first place. So like I said, efficiency, size, and profit matter. If Canon is making a profit off CFast cards, and they are getting the job done, they're going to stay with CFast cards in the future. And that promotes the future of what you're going to buy. And then you have to understand that it's efficient enough to do everything that the cameras want them to do. So I can go, see fast, card. I can go upgrade my camera from a 5D Mark IV to a 1DX Mark II and still use that same card. I don't have to buy a whole nother infrastructure for my card, because you have to have the card reader, you have to have the card, and then you have to have a system that can read and write, or at least read and extract that data from that card as fast as that card is rated for, because it kind of demeans the purchase if you can't get a whole system that can rock with that purchase of a CFast card. Well, my 3 important reasons, you have to understand that the last thing on size, it's already set in stone. They already knew exactly what size the CFast card was going to be because they had the CF card in the past. They didn't have to make a lot of modifications. The CFast card is one of the most indestructible memory formats on the market today. And it's very, very small. That's hard to get, especially at the price that they're giving it to you. So even though it's one of the most expensive cards, you have to understand what this thing is doing. It's like having a portable SSD or solid state drive on your camera at all times for your form factor, and then you can drop it. It's not like a hard drive that you have in most computers nowadays where it spins, a hard disk drive, and it spins, and if you drop it from 3 feet, that's it. You can have this, I've heard, from 10 feet up in the air and then drop it on accident, and it's still okay. Think about the form factors of memory nowadays. You have the micro SD, you have the SD cards, all these flimsy formats, but you have a CFast card? For your CFast card, you can drop it anywhere. It's not as hard to lose as the micro SD. Many micro SD cards I've lost, or SD cards that I've lost, because the SD cards themselves are brittle. They're like plastic. If you put it in the wrong hands, you're screwed. This, that, and the other. Either it's in my camera, it's on top of my computer, in my computer. That's it. I try not to have it in any other places unless there are safe storage spots. All of these cards are so flimsy in comparison to the CFast card. So when you go back to size, you like, okay, size and efficiency add to each other because the durability is so good. The fact that it's so durable at that size, it makes it one of the most effective and efficient purchases that you can make for your camera. But then, the cost is a little bit more than everything else, but you have to think about it. You're trucking in so much more memory. Okay, so the amount of memory that you used to be able to get in a CF card, it used to be maxed out at about 160 megabytes per second. You're getting speeds of excess to 400 megabytes a second on the CFast card. That's so much more than you could do with almost any other card on the market. The only rival that it really has is the XQD card and the UHS-II SD card. But usually if you get a UHS-II SD card, you're going to get that CFast card to back that up. Why? Because the UHS-II SD card is not as durable as the CFast card. Think about this technology like the cell phone. The cell phone, as it grew up, it became smaller and smaller and more efficient. It did a lot more things as it grew. And as technology grows, technology is going to do a lot more at a smaller size. But you have this apex where the camera's going to be big anyway. Let's go ahead and give them a card that works effectively, uses that size, and gives it at a price that they understand. So whereas if you had a cell phone, a CFast card is really, really ridiculous. But if you had a 1DX Mark II, you're at home because you're used to a camera that size. You know that camera is going to be a decent size. And physics, you can't defeat that at the end of the day. So if you ever understood why most highest quality lenses are still the same size that they are, think about the 70-200. The 70-200 that gives you the quality that you want, it still hasn't become smaller, because there's certain things about physics that you can't defeat. The same thing goes with CF cards. Even though cards have gotten smaller and technology has made it better at this point in time in technology, lenses can't be just smaller and give you the exact same quality or light input that you want. Same thing with CFast cards. You still have to have a bit of size to truck the amount of memory that it's asking for. Even with the SD card, they had to add some contacts to the SD card to make it work better. But in my opinion, the SD card is going to be more and more unreliable the more we ask of it. But we're also at this apex where a lot of people don't necessarily want 4K and higher resolution. We're comfortable with where we are right now. So there's a whole bunch of things to think about. Another thing we have to talk about now that we're at this apex where cards are pretty expensive, but not as expensive as they could be, and people may want to get into using them. They might try to get the cheapest card they can find, and I would advise against this. Out of all the things that you can skimp on with, purchases for your camera, like lenses, you can get a third-party lens, and you can get it for a third of the price and still be good. You can get a lot of things that make the cost lower, but CFast card is not one of the things that I want you to do with that. I don't want you to get the cheaper version. I want you to get one that has a reputable brand name, and like I said, don't make it the cheapest version because you run into the problem of counterfeits. Now, counterfeits is an issue that a lot of people experience on eBay. Not to down eBay, but I've heard a lot doing my research of people was like, oh, it was eBay. I got this car from eBay from China. And even though SD cards are made from China, from SanDisk brand, I've heard that people have identical cars, but they're slightly different, and they're more, maybe even 10 times more likely to get corrupted. And that's not what you want to happen, because if you're at a wedding, so on and so forth, all this other stuff, you don't want your car to be corrupted. So watch out for counterfeits. Make sure your font is right. Look at the back of the card. Make sure the back of the card says something that looks legit. Like if it says made in China, it says made in China. Don't have like 67 other brands on the back of your card, but the sticker looks right. Because a lot of times as photographers, we don't really take a fine-tooth comb to look at our CF cards and SD cards and CFast cards like that. So make sure you get a reputable brand if you're going to buy a CF card or a CFast card. Don't chimp out because the CFast cards are a little bit more expensive. A lot of cameras nowadays are running off of straight SSDs. So the fact that we have CFast cards to use in our cameras and you have a camera that can use it, pay for the right one, the right brand. All right, in the last video for the CF card, I made a little table to tell you guys in comparison to how each card works out. There's four major cards on the market today: the SD card, the CFast card, the CF card, and the XQD card. That's for high performance cards for portable cameras like DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, so on and so forth. Now, there is a barrier to entry for each card, of course. You may need a card reader. Well, you will need a card reader if you don't have one already. But the reason I say may is because some of the card readers are all-in-ones. Like the CF card readers usually have a micro SD card or SD card reader and the CF card reader all in one. And then you have XQD cards, you have CFast cards that need their own separate entity. So you have to understand that there's a price to entry. So for SD cards, I'm just gonna look at my paper here, and it's about $30 to $40 or $50 if you have a UHS-II kind of thing going on. If you have a CF card, old school, but you can still have it, this is about the same price. And then if you have a CFast card, it's a little bit more, topping out at about $70. The lowest I've seen was about $40 for a CFast card reader. And then XQD cards are about the same. It's a little bit cheaper because it's about $20 to $70, and which I've seen on the market today. But it always changes. Technology is moving so fast. You have to understand exactly what you're getting, what you got, and why you got it. I'm Devin with CenturyFX Studios. I hope you guys love this video. I'm just trying to give you straight up information videos, trying to learn more about photography myself, trying to really turn over each block, read between the lines, clean up any crumbs that I may forgotten on the way of learning about the things that I'm learning about. If you have any information that I don't know, let me know in the comments below. But keep shooting those cameras.